Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar for exhibitors at Railway Interchange 2017. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us. As you know, RI 17 is just over 3 months away, so preparation is in full swing. We aim to make this webinar a good use of your time and to aid you in those many preparations. My name is Amanda Patrick, and among other things, I am the show manager for the Railway Supply Institute at Railway Interchange. RSI is headquartered here in the beautiful Washington, D.C., and that is where I'm calling in from. In addition to being certified in exhibition management, I personally managed Railway Interchange since its inception in 2011. So I'm both appreciative of and very familiar with what exhibitors go through to attend this major industry event and the pressures exhibitors are under to make this a successful event for their companies. And while some of our larger exhibitors are quite experienced and sophisticated when it comes to trade shows, I've had many mid-size and smaller exhibitors ask for guidance over the years about what works and what doesn't work when it comes to exhibiting at the show. There is always an opportunity to learn more and to make the show work better for your company, no matter what size your booth is or where it's located in the hall. It's with that in mind that I've invited our friends at Smith Marketing Services to put this webinar together as a value-added service for this year's RSI exhibitors. RSI has been working with SMS since 2009. They are familiar with the rail industry, trade shows, and the complexities of railway interchange in general. The focus of the webinar will be practical ideas for increasing your return on investment and boosting selling opportunities at this year's Railway Interchange. Today's presentation will be about 40 minutes, and there will be time for questions at the end. Remember, you can't talk to us, so you'll have to type in your questions and comments into the chat box on the right hand of your screen. We're also recording today's session so we can circulate it afterward, and you don't have to panic if there are technical issues on your end. And SMS will be happy to send you a copy of the presentation when we're done as well. Before we dive into the webinar, here's a little bit more information on our presenters. Doug Smith is the president at Smith Marketing Services and has been working with railway suppliers since 1995. Clients include Railway Interchange, Railway Supply Institute, New York Air Brake, American Railcar Industries, and several others. John Hoeschele, also on this call, is the creative director at Smith Marketing and joined the company in 2015, having spent 30 years helping clients market technology into the military, construction, transportation, and communication industries. Both of these guys have extensive trade show marketing experience and a proven track for effectively using trade shows to help businesses connect with their customers. And I want to thank them on behalf of RSI for putting this talk together at no cost to our association or our members. Doug, do you want to take it from here?
Amanda, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Doug Smith, president of Smith Marketing, and I've attended rail conferences, both large and small, for over 20 years. One of the things I've observed is that the railway supply industry is a pretty tightly knit group, with sometimes as few as only 2 or 3 suppliers for a specific component or system. What's more, salespeople, field service personnel, design engineers, executives spend many, many hours with their customers. So there's a lot of deep and long-standing friendships established. And these two details make Railway Interchange a unique selling environment for suppliers. Now, our comments today are going to cover some trade show basics. But we're also going to touch on some data points and tactics that are specific to the opportunity at this show. So now, let me ask John Hoeschele to kick off the presentation by outlining a framework we use for action planning at trade shows.
Thanks, Doug. Without getting too far into the weeds or the details of everything that goes into pulling off a successful trade show, because it's a fairly robust and deep discipline, trade show marketing, for the sake of this webinar, because we have a limited time, can be divided into 3 actions: things you do before, during, and after the show. Before the show actions begin with having well-defined goals. This may seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how many exhibitors and booth staffers struggle to actually come up with to define their actual goals when they're at a trade show. Whether it's introducing new products, holding meetings with customers, meeting with the press, or conducting competitive or even customer research at the show, your management team should all be on the same page as to why they're there. And just as important, that information should be conveyed to your booth team so visitors don't receive garbled messages, or even worse, no clear messages at all. Now let's just take a moment to focus on the goal, the hypothetical goal of selling opportunities. Now, why are we focusing on that? Well, back in 2015 at the Railway Interchange show at that date, SMS was commissioned to survey attendees. We basically asked them, what was your objective for attending? In response, the top 3 reasons they gave basically suggested they were there to be sold to. More specifically, about 60% of them indicated they were there to look at what's new, whether that's a new technology, new process, new services, stuff that's breaking over the horizon in terms of what's happening in the rail industry. Over 40% of them said they were there to meet current key suppliers, and about the same 40% said they were there to identify specifically new sources of supply. So as an exhibitor, if you're not actively and deliberately treating everyone who walks into your booth as a selling opportunity, you're actually ignoring your visitor's main motivation for being at the show in the first place. Does that mean you hard sell everybody who walks into the booth, anybody who has a pulse? Well, actually, no. So Doug's going to touch on next and the emphasis between the distinction of selling and qualifying.
Sure thing, John. Yep. In addition to the insight that attendees are eager to learn and be sold to, it's a fact that time is very much at a premium at Railway Interchange. Now, what makes sense if you think about it, that over the course of just 2.5 days, attendees have several 100,000 square feet of exhibits to cover. And no questions, hands down, Railway Interchange is the largest show of its kind in North America. Hundreds of exhibitors to choose from, speeches, technical sessions, meals, networking events. And that's not to mention that there are also routine demands that most working people have of their time when they're on the road out of the office. So, and this is a rhetorical question, how do you, as an exhibitor, strike a balance between attendees' eagerness to learn and their shortage of time? And the answer to that question is you need to make a distinction between selling and qualifying while you're at the show. Now, I'm not saying don't take an order if the opportunity arises. What I'm saying is that securing appointments, getting referrals, making introductions within your organization to attendees based on their interest and level of education are the actionable, attainable measures of success at Railway Interchange. In other words, your job and your booth staffer's job is to come away with qualified follow-up opportunities that you didn't have before the show. Now, we're talking about measurements, so obviously another good question would be, what number of leads should you aim for? And the answer to that question is, I don't know. The answer varies from one company to another, but we can drill down a little bit to talk about how you as an individual can start to think about setting goals. And I want to start with, I imagine many of you are golfers, a golf analogy. I want you to think about playing the game from the green to the tee. In other words, start with the goal in mind. And amateur golfers, if you're like me, we get up on the first tee and our primary goal is to hit the ball hard and hope it goes into the fairway. Professional golfers, in contrast, know exactly where the flag is on the green, where they want to put the ball on the green, where they want to put the ball into the fairway to give them the best chance for success. Now, the same holds true for trade show marketing professionals. Start with the goal in mind. How many unique selling opportunities do you hope to come away with from the show? That number drives how many qualified follow-up opportunities do you need to uncover and establish at the show? And in turn, that number is driven by how many contacts at the show do I need to make to achieve my goal? Now, starting with the goal in mind is a key concept in trade show marketing. But let me put some numbers around that. There were 9,571 attendees at Railway Interchange 2015. If just 3% of those people stop by your booth, that's 288 opportunities to uncover qualified follow-up opportunity. So if you translate that into just the number of hours in the show, that's almost 10 new faces per hour. So again, your visitors don't have time for a full-blown sales discussion while they're standing in your booth. What you need to do is not to sell, but to qualify. Now I want to kick it back to John because there's another way to increase the likelihood of qualified people coming to your booth. And John, let's talk about that.
Once you set measurable goals for the show, the other before the show activity that's critical is promoting and generating buzz about your being there in the first place. You can even use pre-show promotion to help manage the attendee time shortages that Doug alluded to earlier, leveraging that shortage to secure your own booth appointments before attendees' calendars fill up. As an example of that, one of our longstanding clients in the rail sector is New York Air Brake. For Railway Interchange 2015, we placed an ad in the show guide and did a pre-show mailing that literally featured an image of the New York Air Brake show booth to make it easier for attendees to spot it on the crowded show floor. And we sent out an invitation to their hospitality suite, which included a map from the convention center. The result was branding and product promotion that also helped attendees manage their valuable time, which they appreciated and which gave them a positive impression of New York Air Brake. Next, don't forget to utilize pre-show promotion opportunities offered by the show sponsors themselves. So that would be RSI, RSSI, and folks like that. And the reason we want to emphasize that is sometimes when you register to exhibit at a trade show, you sometimes feel like you have to create all the promotion yourself, and that can take a lot of requirements in terms of demand on your staff in terms of time. It can cost a lot of money. So if you actually lean on the show sponsors like Amanda's group at RSI, you actually can save a lot of money, save a lot of headaches, and save a lot of time. So make sure you're leveraging those opportunities. When we're going to walk you through a few of them. First, be sure to leverage social media. This year's Railway Interchange show has a solid presence in terms of Twitter, so you should tap into and join that conversation. Following the show's Twitter page, and you can see the address there. It's at Railway Interchange, and it's a truncated version of the term. And if your company uses Twitter, be sure to include hashtag Railway Interchange in your tweets about the show. So so your tweets get extra exposure too. Basically, everybody who's following the show would also get notice of your tweets. Secondly, RI sponsors this year put together a nifty little promotional kit for exhibitors, which includes web stickers, digital ads, photos from previous shows, and other items you can easily add to your outbound communications. To get your kit, you just need to send an email to Amanda, and she'll mail it to you in a nice little zip file. And next thing you know, you've got a whole bunch of tools you can start to drop into your press releases, into your ads, into your online ads, and everything else for that matter. Doug, why don't you touch on a couple of the other opportunities from the show sponsors?
Sure. Before I do that, I understand that there are some technical issues that some people are having a little trouble either hearing us or popping on and offline. For those who can hear me, this webinar will be recorded, and you can view or listen to this in a high quality audio file on RSI's website. So I apologize for that. We're going to continue, but let us know that if via email if you're having problems, and Amanda will try and address that. to follow up a little bit more on what John says, I get really excited about a railway interchange. It comes once only every 2 years. It's a big show, and it offers a wide variety of sponsorships and other ways to promote your presence at the show. RSI has a number of sponsorship opportunities for sponsoring speakers, refreshments. There are many signage opportunities throughout the exhibit hall. There is the opportunity to be included in the Railway Interchange online app, a very valuable navigational tool people can use on their smartphones. There are advertising opportunities in the show guide. Every registrant, when they stop by to get their credentials, will receive a copy of that program, and you may buy advertising in those programs. And this year, for the first time, we have developed a marketing package called Booth Blast, and that includes a pre-show mailing campaign as well as a video taped interview at your booth. And the resulting video has a post-show follow-up plan suggesting best ways for you to use the video after the show. Now, if you'd like more information on any of these things, you can visit railwayinterchange.org. Talk to if you want more information on sponsorships, a lovely young lady, Carol Steckbeck, would be happy to contact you and discuss options and ideas with you. Now, that's about all the time we have to talk about the first part of trade show marketing, and that's what we do before the show. So now I'd like to move and talk a little bit about activities that occur during the show, and I'll turn it back to John.
First, and again, at the risk of being a little bit basic, we believe it's important and worth revisiting some of the touchstones of basic good booth design. As you'd be surprised, again, how many people actually skip these steps. So I'm going to walk you through a few of them right now. Number one, secure your booth space as early as possible and take the time to review the floor plan as it relates to main entrances, aisles, food courts, etc. It's no surprise that the big exhibitors snap up their booths early. Now, according to Amanda, there's not a whole lot of booth space left at this moment in time. She said it's basically 90% plus sold out. So this is basically something you can apply to maybe the next show if you haven't gotten a great space this year. But there are a few left, so please snap them up if folks are still on the fence as to whether they should do that or not. Number two, make sure you're easy to spot with sizable logos at or above eye level. Number three, try to avoid making your booth a fortress. We're going to emphasize this again later because the point here is you want to make sure you allow visitors a way into your booth and give them space to stand and walk around, and in some cases even provide seating space if necessary. Number 4 and 5, try and establish a simple theme visitors will remember and use dramatic photos placed at eye level instead of lots of text that attendees will have to squint or even bend over to see. And finally, don't just show up, show off with a high-impact video, a live product demo, or a presentation. Here again, I'm going to point to an example from New York Air Brake. In 2015, at the Railway Interchange show, they launched many new products, but one of them was a water-resistant slack adjuster. So for that show, we wanted to help dramatize some of the benefits, the key benefits of that unit. So we basically suggested, and they implemented, putting the slack adjuster inside of a fish tank with some water spraying around. That way you could see in real time that the product was resistant to water. And I'll tell you, it was a great conversation starter. So Doug, can you take this opportunity to touch on the idea of another data point as it relates to the concept of new from our previous research?
Sure. For those of you who can hear us and all of you who are still paying attention, you'll recall from a few slides back, the number one reason attendees went to Railway Interchange 2015 was to look at what's new. And that's a pretty exciting data point. Humans literally get a little bit of an endorphin rush when they see and experience something that's new and different. And for you as an exhibitor, this is a data point that has an actionable implication. Your booth should be designed to deliver a message about something that's new. Now, it's easy if the decision is that we have a new product or service to launch. Let's talk about that. That's a clear good move. However, if you don't have something that's obviously new to unveil in Indianapolis this September, let's think about that a little deeper and sort of look inside your toolkit. Chances are there are a number of new things that you could spotlight, whether it's pricing or new equipment, new capabilities within your organization, even new people who you can introduce and demonstrate that you're growing and that your organization is moving forward. These are all opportunities for clear messaging. Now, speaking of people, that leads me to touch on another important point about during the show, booth staffing. At Smith Marketing, we advise clients to follow the get leads approach. That means, and we've talked about goals, the show should have a known and clearly understood goal, and no one on your team should have a blank stare on their face if they're asked the question, what is our goal? 2, your staff needs to engage visitors, and we're going to talk about more about that in a moment. 3, training is important. Staff should be trained to deliver key messages and to identify and qualify follow-up opportunities. So let's talk about what we want to define as capturing a lead. It breaks into about 3 things. One is capture info by swiping the badge. Listen to the visitor's area of interest and degree of technical expertise. There is actually an association of trade show associations called the Center for Exhibit Industry Research. And they have found that 42% of show attendees feel that booth workers didn't understand their needs. And the reason for that was because they didn't listen to them. A lot of times staffers are communicating by speaking, but they're not doing a good enough job of listening. And they need to, in order to determine how they're going to follow up once the show is over. So, final tip here. You should learn to use the badge swiper, or have somebody in the booth who is well trained on how to collect that information and input notes into each file so that you have a reminder of how to follow up with that person. Business cards are really not a very effective way of managing a follow-up program. John, let me turn it over to you.
So if I can just expand on what Doug said before about engaging booth visitors, I think it'd be useful. Here's a tip to help you understand what we mean by that. If you know what it feels like to walk into a party full of strangers, and all of us have done this, either birthday parties, cocktail parties, Halloween, whatever. If you've walked into one of those parties and you don't know anybody, you basically have a pretty good sense of what a trade show attendee feels like when they walk up to your booth. To solve this problem, every one of your booth visitors should be trained and expected to act like they're hosts at your own party. When a visitor is hovering on the outskirts of your booth, bridge that gap by walking up to them. Make sure there's space for them to stand. We've all seen trade shows so full of their own people that there's no room for visitors, which is a total waste of time, and it's a big waste of space. Next, do what you would do to make any party guest feel comfortable. Smile, introduce yourself, make a little small talk about their travels, the weather, and where they're from. And then, after you've been a little human, transition to business with a simple low-pressure segue like, is there something you've heard about our company that I can tell you more about? Again, just be human. And it's not unusual, or it's actually pretty smart. to make sure that you thank them for stopping by when they're on their way out, and give them a party favor in the form of a trade show premium.
Okay, so that pretty much covers some of the things that we can do during the show. As time allows, we really need to move to now what we can do after the show. And I want to quote another statistic from the Center for Exhibit Industry Research. 77% of executive decision makers find at least one new supplier at every trade show they attend. That's pretty powerful stuff. But given the growth, the innovation, the regulatory environment of the rail industry, the numbers are even higher at Railway Interchange. This is a target-rich environment, people. And as such, given the fact that leads that you uncover will grow cold over time, it is to your advantage to act quickly when following up on show leads. Mail or email literature to qualified leads within 48 hours if humanly possible. If you don't have the means to do this, record the data and employ a fulfillment house. It will make you stand out from the crowd. And if possible, take a little time to weed and feed your prospect list. Weed out those that are less qualified, concentrate on those that are most qualified, and then feed that in each one of those leads a little information, such as you could look up the person on LinkedIn. You could visit the website of the company that you're thinking about talking to. And this is probably the most important point that I feel I'm going to make all afternoon. In my experience, the number one mistake trade show exhibitors make is failing to follow up in a timely manner. Remember, now let's go back and remember my opening comment. I said we were going to kind of customize this a little bit to the rail industry. Well, here's one way to do that. Because we're a close-knit group, many companies feel like everybody knows us. There's no need for me to reach out after the show. And that is an opportunity for you. Second point on this same topic, it costs companies money to send employees to a show. And so when an attendee comes away from that show, what the company that sent them there wants is useful information that they gained at that show. So they are very receptive, right, immediately after the show to follow up. And as a result, it's a prime opportunity for you. Final point. Don't hand out literature at the show willy-nilly. Mail it instead. And here's why. Most literature gets tossed before the attendee gets on the plane or gets back to the office. Whereas literature that's on the attendees' desks when they get back is read and equally important, circulated in the company. John, I'll take it back to you.
So, speaking of coming back from the show, just like the attendees do, we at Smith consider it a best practice to do a little follow-up with your internal audience as well to see what lessons were learned from the show you just attended. How was the booth traffic in terms of quantity and quality? Did the demos, presentations, and other kinds of messaging you delivered do the job? What about the booth layout, the booth staffing plan, or other logistics? If you invested in promotional tactics before, during, and after the show, just as we've discussed today, did you see any return on those? What did your lead follow-up efforts that Doug just described, what did those yield in terms of moving customers and prospects forward into the sales cycle? Did it work? Were there successes or failures you could apply next time? And do you have feedback you might want to share with the show management so they too can get smarter in terms of venue or how the thing was supported, in terms of how the suppliers at the show could be everything from carpeting to the badge swiping machines. If you have input on those kinds of topics, Amanda and folks like Amanda at the sponsoring organizations definitely want to hear about it. In other words, the concept of continuous improvement applies to rail shows just like it does in your factory. So be sure to make that part of your DNA when it comes to doing and planning trade shows.
Okay, so we're getting ready to wrap up our formal part of the presentation. Let me share a thought with you all. You know, as with any how-to book or any educational webinar or conference, the idea is not to try and implement every idea that was discussed. The idea is to think about what works for you and implement one or two of those. That's the concept behind zero defects. That's the concept behind continuous improvement. And it should be the concept behind trade show marketing. That wraps up the formal part of our presentation. Hopefully you picked up a couple of useful insights. Smith Marketing would be happy to entertain questions if you have them. So I'm going to turn this back to Amanda, and we'll take it from there.
I'm sorry, I just got you back. Can you hear
Amanda?
me? Yes. What was the question?
The question is, we've concluded the formal part, and are there any questions regarding, from the audience?
Yes. If anybody has questions, please put them on your screen or on your chat box, and we're happy to answer those. There's no silly questions. And if you just have a general trade show question, you're welcome to ask that as well. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about the show in general, too. I think we have a quiet group.
Well, we must have covered it pretty well, I would hope. Then.
Oh, I got one from Jamie. She says, what is your opinion on doing a giveaway or giving away promotional items at your booth?
Giveaways are pretty standard practice at the booth. I think that they're good things to do. The way to take a giveaway up a notch is to tie the giveaway into a product feature and product benefit. So, for example, if you have a brake shoe that repairs the tread on a wheel, you might give away rolls of duct tape, because duct tape is used, at least by me, to repair almost anything. And you can put some kind of a reminder about that product benefit on the giveaway. There are also good branding opportunities. When you do a giveaway, a lot of times it's a way of branding your company.
I would just add to that, if you can tie it to a specific product benefit. So as Doug was speaking, this is ad-libbing here a little bit, but if you had some sort of product, could be a wayside detection system or something else that performs very well in cold weather, which is obviously important in North America during half of the year or more than half of the year. One thing that comes to mind is like something that would end up on their desk is like a snow globe. So if you had some product that could perform well in cold temperatures, you tie that to like a snow globe, and then the snow globe comes back with them, and they put it on their desk, and it's there to remind them over and over again. But it's actually pertinent to and relevant to the product benefit, as opposed to being just fluffy or just another pen that they throw in with all the rest of the pens that they have.
I'll make one other comment about giveaways, and that is that all attendees are not created equal. And there are some times where you can have some very high quality giveaways that aren't just out on the desk for someone to pick up as they walk by the booth. And those can be appreciated as well.
Any other questions, Amanda?
Yes. Kirk asks, how do I get information on placing an ad in the show guide? We have some of that information on our website, but I will also add in my post-event email to you all information about how to get an ad in the show guide, where the sponsorship lists are, and also the booth blast and video that Doug and John have been referring to. So that will be in my post-event email. David asks, what is a card swiper? Doug, were you referring to lead retrieval?
Lead retrieval. It's a rentable unit that reads the barcode on the back of an attendee's credentials. That automatically takes from the barcode information the contact information of the attendee that you were talking to. In addition, you can set this barcode reader up so that you have, let's say, 7 or 8 categories. And when you swipe them, you can say, all right, this person is interested in category 1 and 3 and 6. And so it's a very quick and very easy way to profile or to collect follow-up data. It's automatically electronic at that point in time. It can be sent back to the home office. It can be downloaded onto a thumb drive and used in the hotel. There's just a lot of advantages to that. I call it a badge reader, but I guess there's Amanda, is there an actual name for it when at Railway Interchange? Anyway, so that's, if there's a second follow-up to that question, please type it in.
Any other questions, Amanda? Are you still online? I think we've lost Amanda.
Amanda, I think we've lost you. I don't know if we can see the questions from our screen or not. No, we can't.
Keep going.
So let me put them on pause for 1 second, and we're going to work on a technical problem. Please, people, hang tough. We'll be back with you in 30 seconds.
Doug, we do have another question.
Okay.
And this is from James.
Okay.
After this one right here.
Okay, so here's another question from James. Are you going to have any registration lists of attendees available prior to the show? The answer to that question is yes. The attendees lists will be available in mid-August. They will be updated again a little nearer the show a second time, and they can be used for pre-show promotion. I would point out that a large percentage, and I don't know the actual number, but a lot of people sign up either right before the show or at the show themselves. So pre-show promotion in that event is not going to reach every attendee. There is also a second opportunity, and that is you can obtain a list of all the attendees that came to the show, and you can use that for post-show follow-up. There is another question, and again, this is Doug here, from Christine. And John, the question is, what is your opinion on the use of social media during the show? Are attendees typically pretty active on Twitter?
Absolutely. In fact, I think that RSI in particular is investing a great deal of effort and equity in Twitter, because people are basically tuned into that pretty well. We as well, we're a marketing firm, so we absolutely believe that that there's value to social media. It's taking a little time to gain traction in the rail industry, but at the same time, all the big suppliers, all the big railroads are utilizing social media. So there's definitely a tipping point coming soon, and Railway Interchange is the perfect case in point where you want to join that bandwagon and become part of the leading part of the trend instead of the lagging part of the trend.
I would add one other thing, and that is that not everybody who would like to come to the show comes to the show. So there is interest out there within the industry about Railway Interchange. They know it's a technology show. So there would be a lot more people following Railway Interchange as well. So utilizing Twitter through the Railway Interchange site and hashtagging Railway Interchange is a good idea. Elsie writes a question. Are the badge readers available for rent at the show? And the answer to that question is yes. The show guide or the show package will have a list of who that vendor is, and you can contact them. The way that works is you pick up the reader the day before or the day of the show, and you return it the Wednesday the show ends. They're not expensive.
We have a follow-on question which relates to social media. The person is asking, what is the most popular social media platform in the rail industry? Which one of these is the best choice for the trade show? We're seeing a great deal of traction from Twitter. LinkedIn is also extremely popular in the rail industry because it's loaded with professionals and engineers. Facebook is also pretty popular as well. So between those three, we're not seeing a lot of evidence of Instagram or like Snapchat or things of that sort. We're basically starting with the basics. So Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, those are basically the kind of the hallmarks at the moment in time. But I'm sure the trend is going to go upwards as far as the others go. So.
This is a question from, and I believe it's Leslie, and it says, are custom logo food items allowed for handout? Popcorn, bottled water, etc. I assume the ICC has an exclusive catering provider. I would like Amanda to answer this question, but I don't know that she has a mic at the moment. So I'm going to give you just some things I have seen at Railway Interchange. Water, branded water is certainly acceptable. However, there will be a lot of refreshment on the show floor. The Railway Interchange management understands that having breakfasts and lunch on the show floor keeps people at the exhibit hall. So those things have to some degree diminished in importance. Certainly you are able to brand giveaways such as candies and things like that as well. Okay, so I'm going to keep at this. This is from Kayla. And when shipping equipment, what carrier seems to be the best to get items to the show without damage? I don't have a specific recommendation on that. We use private carriers to ship materials for clients. There is and I'm sure you've got the process down of, there is a warehouse where it is shipped to, and then so it's a multiple step process. It is shipped to the warehouse, and then it is loaded back and brought to the show floor. Freeman handles that. We have found Freeman to be very good at not damaging things.
Yeah, the only other thing I would say is the show sponsors have gone through and picked recommended suppliers for everything under the sun, and you can find those folks in your show show exhibitor manual. And all of those folks have passed rigors and gone through sort of a rigorous assessment. So I think with some confidence you can source through those people. And then obviously there are other people outside of those recommendations, but I think the fact that the sponsors have done that homework for you, that's something you can sort of bank on.
Hey, I think I'm actually back on for the moment. Sorry.
Yay. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, I saw Kayla's question about carriers, and I actually responded to her via chat. But we obviously work with Freeman. We've been working with Freeman as our service contractor for 10 years or so, and they usually have the intel on the best carriers. I have not seen a lot of damage in my time in managing shows, so I can help you work with them on who's the best to use. It looks like Sue says that they've had problems with YRC, but good luck with Old Dominion. So I think there are several options. Certainly we don't want anybody coming to the show with broken equipment.
Amanda, I'm glad you're back on. Welcome. Have you heard the questions? Have you been able to hear the questions?
I've been trying to answer them via chat. The question about the exclusive catering provider is the Indiana Convention Center. There's a company that they work with. If you want to get branded food or water, you can read.
I think we've lost Amanda again. So perhaps the thing to do would be to wrap this up now, although I'm sure that if there are questions still being posed, Amanda can answer those directly through chat because her audio seems to have clicked off. But we also want to be very respectful of everybody's time today. And in speaking of that, we want to thank you for your time today. If you have questions about the show, fire them off to Amanda. You've got her email. If you have questions about Booth Blast, reach out to Smith Marketing. We'd be happy to answer those for you. And there's an email address. There's Doug's email address right on screen right now. If you have questions about show sponsorships, whether that's signage or the trade show, the hotel room keys, things of that sort, contact Carol Steckbeck. She's very happy and willing to help you out with that. And basically anything you want to know, you just get back in touch with us, and we're going to do everything we can in our power to make sure that your needs are met as an exhibitor, because we want you to come back. We want you to have a great experience this year, and we really appreciate your time today. Anything else you want to add, Doug?
No, I think that covers the presentation today. I want to thank everybody for their time. Amanda, if you're back on, let us know. So sorry for the technical difficulties. We will have a recording on this, and it will be posted in the very near future. So please check back with Railway Supply Institute if you would like to listen to this from its beginning to end. Thank you all, and we're signing off.
Thank you.